Dontaesboxingnation.
Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? So as predicted, Devin Haney becoming undisputed in the lightweight division has brought out the worst of old media. For ESPN in particular, the undisputed narrative has blown up in their face. Before Devin Haney became undisputed, ESPN and the rest of old media, they put undisputed on the highest pedestal. And they even called fighters that didn't even have all the 4 belts undisputed, like Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, and George Kambosos. But the truth is, they were really using the word undisputed as an immunity type of title, meaning they would tell fighters like Teofimo Lopez, because you're quote unquote undisputed, you could fight whoever you want. You don't have to fight Devin Haney or Gervonta Tank Davis. In fact, this is exactly what Max Kellerman told Teofimo when he had 3 out of the 4 belts. He literally told Lopez on his show, he said, look, if you fight Devin Haney, then they're going to say, oh, well, you have to fight Gervonta because he's the regular WBA champion. The translation was, you can duck whoever you want because we are calling you undisputed. That's how big undisputed was before to ESPN. But now that Devin Haney is the king of the lightweight division with all the belts, and he is the real undisputed champion, they don't care about undisputed anymore. Now, apparently, not even having a belt ranks higher than the undisputed champion in the division. ESPN, they put out one of the most ridiculous pound-for-pound lists on the market right now, and they think they can get away with it because they finally put Terrence Crawford at number 1. Almost using Terrence Crawford as a distraction, hoping that people won't pay attention to the rest of the list. Coincidentally, this is pretty much the same thing that ESPN did when they created their list of top 25 best fighters of the last 25 years. Because they put Floyd Mayweather at number 1, it's as if they didn't think people would pay attention to the fact that they rated Gennady Golovkin above Roy Jones Jr. and many other great champions. Now, this list is ridiculous for so many reasons. For one reason is because they have a list that includes losers and fighters that are retired. Canelo Alvarez, he just came off of a loss where he was completely dominated. He wasn't in a competitive fight at all. And then you have Tyson Fury, who's retired. Guys, when Floyd Mayweather retired after he beat Ricky Hatton, they all removed Floyd Mayweather from the list immediately. He was considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world. They could not wait to remove him from the list once he said he was retired. Even though they knew that Floyd Mayweather was coming back, they still couldn't wait to remove him from the list. But when it comes to Tyson Fury, he's still on the list. As good as a no he is, there's no way he's considered even top 5 one of the best fighters in the world. He doesn't even have a resume as good as Stephen Fulton or Jermell Charlo, who are completely absent from ESPN's list. Jermell Charlo is the undisputed champion in arguably the deepest division in boxing. You could say it's the welterweight division, or you could say it's the super welterweight division. But Jermell Charlo is not even on their list, and once again, ESPN are some of the main members of old media that were praising undisputed more than anything else in the sport of boxing. In fact, way before Alexander Usyk beat Anthony Joshua, ESPN, they had him on their pound-for-pound list at number 6, and that was just for him becoming undisputed at the cruiserweight division, which is one of the weakest divisions in the sport of boxing. So they put Usyk at number 6 after becoming undisputed. They don't even have Jermell Charlo on the list after becoming undisputed against better competition than Usyk faced at the cruiserweight division. But Canelo's on the list. Why do they still have him on the list? Because they say he's still undisputed at 168, regardless of how many times he loses at a different weight class. Now let's go ahead and talk about the double standards when it comes to Devin Haney. Devin Haney is the undisputed champion at the lightweight division, but yet ESPN, they have Lomachenko, who's inactive, has no belts, and just lost to Teofimo, who lost to George Kambosos that Devin Haney just beat. They have him ranked above Devin Haney at number 7, the best fighter in the world, while Devin, they have him at number 10. That's like calling the football team that lost in the playoffs the Super Bowl champions. And ironically enough, ESPN and a lot of other people, they were calling this fight the Super Bowl of the lightweight division. So Devin Haney, he reacts to ESPN's pound-for-pound list, rating Lomachenko above him. And this is what he said in one of the tweets, or one of the posts. I don't know if this is Twitter or Instagram, but the post, it reads, LOL, Loma not even active right now, and someone is undisputed in the same weight class that he fights in. How could he still be on the pound-for-pound list? So not only did Devin Haney ask, how was Lomachenko ranked above Loma on ESPN's pound-for-pound list, he also asked, how can he even be on the list? Which is a great question. Lomachenko is another fighter recently coming off of a very significant loss. The only way Lomachenko should be on this list is if the list only consists of fighters that Lomachenko already beat. Fighters like Comey, Nakatani, or Luke Campbell. But how can he be considered better than Teofimo Lopez, who he lost to, and Devin Haney, who is the real undisputed champion in the lightweight division? I tell you, man, the more fighters on the coincidental list win, the more harder it is for ESPN and the rest of old media to justify their agenda. You see, it was easier for old media and ESPN to fly under the radar before. But now, because of all of these big wins that Black American fighters are getting, becoming undisputed, and ESPN is not even putting them on the list, this is shining a brighter light on ESPN's agenda. Speaking of ESPN's agenda, you have to really pay attention to what's going on. The reason why ESPN is excluding fighters like Jermell Charlo and Stephen Fulton from their list is because they don't want the list to look like it's being dominated by too many Black American fighters. That's the reason why they replace people who belong on the list like Jermell and Stephen Fulton with people that are retired like Tyson Fury and Canelo Alvarez, who just came off of a loss, along with Lomachenko, who doesn't even have a belt and was recently conquered by Teofimo Lopez. Matter of fact, let me put this graphic up for you guys, because ESPN, they did the exact same thing with their list of undisputed champions. ESPN is the only ones that included Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos on the list of undisputed champions. Even the Australian reporter that interviewed Devin Haney after the fight didn't include George Kambosos or Teofimo Lopez on the list of undisputed champions. Listen what the guy from Australia said when he was interviewing Devin Haney after Devin became undisputed.
Devin Haney, the 8th fighter in the four-belt era to become the undisputed champion of the world. How does that sound?
Alhamdulillah, all praise due to Allah. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
Now you heard that, right? Even the Australian reporter refused to lie to the public, mislead boxing fans by telling them things that he knew was completely false. Did you guys know that 5 out of the 8 undisputed champions of the four-belt era are Black Americans? And after Spence fights against Crawford, that will make 6 out of 9. Now let's take a look at the graphic that ESPN put up before the fight. Once again, they included George Kambosos and Teofimo to the list because they did not want the undisputed list to look like it was a list that was dominated by Black American fighters, which is the truth. That is an actual fact. So once again, they decided to just add some other faces to the list so it didn't look like it was predominantly the wrong color, at least for ESPN's taste. I don't understand how Tim Bradley and Andre Ward, they look at things like this and remain silent. That's a whole nother video. But moving on, Now, there was something else that Devin Haney said. He also said, F their pound for pound list, it's opinionated. Y'all can all keep me off the list. To say y'all can all keep me off the list, that's not the right approach. Because Devin Haney, he had an opportunity to expose some of the most biased pound for pound lists out there. You kind of let them off the hook when you say all of y'all. Devin, he should have did the same thing that Jermell Charlo did after Jermell knocked out Castaño. He completely pointed out the very racist and biased Mike Coppinger, who works for ESPN and still to this day has a pound for pound list of his own that they put on the ESPN website that does not include Jermell Charlo's name. And Jermell, he completely exposed him for his biased pound for pound list. I mean, my thing is, if Devin Haney is saying F their list, I don't care about it, then the best way for him to show he doesn't care about their list is not to do interviews with them. If you're going to do interviews with ESPN, tell ESPN, find me a reporter that's not biased, and I'll sit down with him. But I'm not going to sit down with someone like Max Kellerman or whoever else puts together this ridiculous pound for pound list that disrespects and insults me by having losers ranked higher than me in my own division. Listen, when Devin Haney said, keep me off of y'all list, etc., the whole point of Devin becoming the real undisputed champion was to demand respect from people like ESPN and everyone else. So don't say keep me off of your list, just expose these people as the hypocrites that they are. Something else, and this is really important, something that black fighters need to really understand. Fighters like Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and the list goes on and on and on. You can't use old media talking points when you feel that it doesn't affect you and it's about maybe some fighter that's not in your weight class, but maybe it's affecting other black fighters that are dealing with the same thing you're dealing with. For example, when Devin Haney, he knows that fighters like Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo have been chasing Canelo Alvarez for over 6 years. And he's constantly praising Canelo Alvarez, saying that Canelo is pound for pound #1, the best fighter in the world. What Devin has to understand is they're doing the same thing to Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo that they're doing to Devin Haney today. Black fighters have to understand, you can't only care about the double standards when it comes to your career or when it comes to your weight class, but not care about the other black fighters that are dealing with the exact same thing. That's how you make change. You should be exposing the fact that Canelo Alvarez hasn't fought Jermall Charlo, hasn't fought Demetrius Andrade. You should be coming out saying, you know what, we can't call Canelo Alvarez the best until he gets in the ring with Jermall Charlo, until he gets in the ring with Demetrius Andrade. If Canelo Alvarez is the best, why didn't he fight these guys when he was at 154, when he was at 160? Once again, things are not going to change if black fighters only care about the double standards when it comes to them only. When you're following old media's narrative and you're saying that Canelo Alvarez is the pound for pound, he's the best, etc., you are encouraging old media to treat you the same way they're treating other black fighters in different divisions. ESPN and old media, they're basically saying to Devin Haney, well, if you feel that Canelo Alvarez is this great, well, guess what? We feel like Lomachenko is the Canelo in your division. The reason why old media's message is so powerful and is so influential is because they are all on the same page with their narrative, with their agenda. The racists are very good at staying on code. And fighters on the coincidental list like Devin Haney, they need to learn how to stay on code as well. But it's much easier for them to stay on code because when it comes to staying on code for them, all it really consists of is speaking the whole truth and not being afraid to go against the popular narrative. Instead of saying things that you feel is safe or accepted, saying things that you feel will prevent people from filling up your Instagram with racist comments about you by fans on the internet, people that flood your social media accounts. You have to speak the truth regardless what type of resistance you deal with. That's what I've been doing on my channel, and it's damn sure worked for me. You guys always hear me say the most powerful weapon in the world is a microphone and a camera. Hopefully Devin Haney starts to take advantage of that weapon by speaking the whole truth. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world. Until they stand up for themselves that way, old media will continue to disrespect the best boxers in the world that are dominating the sport today. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Deki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodeki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.
My name is Chris, and I'm all the way here from Anchorage, Alaska at ScalpCarolinas, and I'm here for my second treatment of SMP. Well, I was sitting at home one day and going over my Facebook page, and they have different, like advertisements popping up, and I saw one for SMP. And I saw some pictures of some guys, before and after, and I was looking at that, and it caught my attention. So I Googled it. SMP, nothing showed up in my area. So, I did a little more research, and all of a sudden, ScalpCarolinas popped up in the web browser. So I started watching his videos and seeing all the reaction from all the other people. We talked on the phone, we made appointments and everything. I sent him pictures, and he looked at them, and I was like, can you fix this? And, he pretty much said, no problem. My first session, he made me feel extremely comfortable. It was almost like I was talking to family. He started, and during the whole treatment, we talked and, about our families and our life, and, and things that he does and things that I do. And before I know it, the first session was over. When you see someone doing something that they love, as much as I see Enoch Glover love what he does, it shows in his work. I wouldn't point anyone in any other direction but here to North Carolina, ScalpCarolinas, to get this done.